So, ladies and gentlemen, when you put two big stars together in a Western war movie, you think it's going to be a great success. Well, this movie was pretty good, but it barely broke even at the box office. Even though it co-starred John Wayne and a great Rock Hudson, it didn't reach the box office heights a lot of people thought. Now, The Undefeated was his last movie of the 1960s, John Wayne. This American Western Civil War era film was directed by Andrew V. McLagan, and the film portrays the events surrounding the French imperial intervention in Mexico during the 1860s period of the neighboring American Civil War. It is also loosely based on Confederate States Army General Joseph Orville Shelby's factual escape to Mexico after the Civil War and his attempt to join Maximilian Imperial Mexican forces. Now, in the closing days of the American Civil War, Union Army Colonel John Henry Thomas and Company organized one final attack on a small unit of Confederate soldiers, only to be informed after bloodily defeating them that the war had ended 3 days ago at Appomattox Courthouse in Virginia. Saddened and weary, Thomas leads his men out west towards home with the intention of rounding up and selling wild horses in the Arizona and New Mexico territories to compensate them for their loyalty, friendship, and war service. Meanwhile, some Confederate States Army soldiers, led by Colonel James Langdon, feel the war has left them with no home, and they prepare to immigrate south to Mexico and serve as reinforcement to Emperor Maximilian, leader of the French intervention invasion of Mexico against the Republican government of President Benito Juarez. Langdon torches his plantation home before he departs, rather than seeing it fall in the hands of northern carpetbaggers. At the same time, Thomas and the surviving members of his command meet up with Thomas's adopted Indian son Blue Boy and other members of his tribe from the Oklahoma and Indian territories. Together they round up a herd of 3,000 horses and take them across the Rio Grande of the North for sale to Maximilian's representatives in Durango, Mexico. Halfway there, Blue Boy discovers tracks indicating that Mexican Comanchero bandits are playing an ambush on a group of Confederate travelers. Blue Boy and Thomas go to warn the emigrating Confederates, and Thomas and Langdon meet. Despite their differences, the Americans, Northerners, Southerners, and Cherokee Indians repelled a group of Mexican bandidos attacking the Confederate camp, with Thomas's former Union Army troopers saving the day. Colonel Langdon thanks the Northerners by inviting them to celebrate a 4th of July party, Southern style. However, the former soldiers soon relive the war when a fight breaks out. They then split and go their separate ways. Meanwhile, Langdon's daughter Charlotte and Blue Boy have quickly fallen in love. Now, when Langdon and Southern Company finally reaches their destination, Durango, they find that Emperor Maximilian forces had been chased out days earlier, replaced by ragged Mexican Republican forces of President Juarez under General Rojas, who imprisons them. Viewing the new foreigners as potential enemies, the Royalista general holds the Southerners hostage, offering to release them in exchange for Thomas's horses. Now, after Langdon is sent to Thomas's camp with Rojas's demands, the reluctant American cowboys agree to pay the ransom to free their brethren. On their way to Durango, Thomas and his men are confronted by French cavalry. A battle erupts with the Americans coming out victorious. Thomas and his men bring the horses to town and pay the ransom for their former enemies. Now, the company of reunited Americans rides out to Durango to return to the States. Trying to decide what song to listen to as they ride, the group passes over Dixie and Battle Hymn of the Republic before settling on Yankee Doodle. Charlotte and Blue Boy are seen as a couple, while both Thomas and Langdon laugh at how the Confederate colonel's daughter has cut Blue Boy's hair. Now, Blue Boy, who plays Blue Boy in this? Well, kind of typecasting, he wore blue jerseys in his career as a player. It was Roman Gabriel, the famous quarterback. Now, again, Tony Aguilar plays General Rojas. Marilyn McCargo plays Anne. The great Lee Meriwether plays Margaret. Merlin Olsen as George Little George. Bruce Cabot as Confederate Sergeant Jeff Newby. Ben Johnson as Short Grub. Harry Carey Jr. as Webster. You're seeing the John Wayne players, as we say. Richard Mulligan as Dan Morris. John Agar as Christian. Big John Hamilton as Mudlow. And Robert Donner as Judd Mailer. And, of course, Keel Martin as Union Runner. Now, the original script was by Stanley Huff and Casey Robinson, neither of whom is credited in the final film. Producer Robert Jacks bought it in December 1967, announcing James Lee Barrett would do the final script. In May 1968, Jacks announced the film would be made through 20th Century Fox. McLagan signed to direct as the first of a two-picture deal with Fox. In August '68, Wayne agreed to star, and the following month, Hudson signed on. The stunt coordinator was Hal Needham, later a film director. Now, according to Rock Hudson's longtime lover, Mark Christian, Wayne started out picking on Hudson during filming, but the two men became friends. In Mark Griffin's biography of Hudson, All That Heaven Allows, Wayne is shown to have initially started to direct Hudson, constantly suggesting what he should do on camera. When Hudson began to do the same to Wayne pointed his finger at Hudson and said, "I like you." The suggestion stopped, and the two men became frequent partners in chess and bridge. Filming took place in Sierra de Olganes National Park, near the town of Sombrerete, Zacatecas, Mexico. Now, the film earned $4 million in rentals in North America and was considered a box office failure. Now, according to Fox reports, the film required $12.425 million in rentals to break even, but by December 11, '70, the film had only made $8.775 million, which resulted in a small loss for the studio. So, cinematography by the great William H. Cloutier, edited by Robert Simpson, music by Hugo Montenegro, a great score, colored by Deluxe, production and distribution by 20th Century, released on November 27th, 1969 at about an hour and a half. So, was looking to break even, but it wasn't a big drive-in hit because Rock Hudson and John Wayne had their fans, but together didn't really work here. But for me, it's a very solid movie, and like I said, when you're dealing with later on Two Mules for Sister Sarah, that the French history in Mexico is touched upon here. It's more semi-historical than fictional. It's well put together, and the pacing on it is quite good. It's a very good cast. But Roman Gabriel should stay in football, and it did stay with football. So, ladies and gentlemen, it's our latest John Wayne podcast of what he called his modern westerns. If you like what we're doing here, give us a like, comment, subscribers, share, or super chat, and don't forget, requests are always accepted and always highly considered. Have a good one. Bye.